With the heavily debated and very controversial interview or conversation, which is probably a better way of wording it, between Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee, you got a clash between new and old media. Both of them had their own shows on Fox News at the same time, around about 15 to 20 years ago. But whilst both of them have left, Mike Huckabee has gone into the world of diplomacy as the American ambassador to Israel, whereas Tucker Carlson has embraced the new media, the internet media. And that has much less stringent rules than the traditional legacy media, as it's known, that you see on television. In this 2.5 hour long interview between Carlson and Huckabee, the reason why I'm so skeptical as to calling it an interview itself is because in most interviews, it's the interviewee who gets most of the words, the airtime. But in this case, it was the interviewer, Tucker Carlson, who spoke for around about 60% of the total video, as opposed to 40% for Mike Huckabee. But in terms of what they covered, it was a wide variety of things, from the Bible to the US striking Iran to sovereignty over the West Bank. But there were a couple of things that have caught the headlines and, in some cases, the lawyers. So let's start off with that. In this interview, Tucker Carlson made a reference to the fact that Israeli President Isaac Herzog had been a visitor of the Jeffrey Epstein island, Little St. James. This was based on what he said was a singular email in which Epstein says, with no proof, that both Ehud, meaning Ehud Barak, and Herzog, although he doesn't just describe who Herzog is, that they will be visiting the island. And this has caused some level of controversy because Herzog has heavily denied any involvement with Epstein. He says that he's never met him. And this was something that was clearly relayed to Tucker Carlson, who released a 2-minute long apology in the loosest possible terms again, because he didn't really apologize. He was continuing to make excuses for it. But it's likely that Herzog, whose family owned the largest law firm in Israel, did have something to say and pressured him to remove that from any future postings. And that seems to have been a line drawn under that. But a bit more of a diplomatic spat regarding what Mike Huckabee said regarding the expansion of the borders of the state of Israel. The interview came about because of Tucker Carlson's criticism of Christian Zionists, of which Mike Huckabee is one. He's a very prominent evangelical speaker. And he quoted Genesis 15, which states that the land of Israel belonging to the Jews is stretching from the Nile River in modern-day Egypt to the Euphrates in modern-day Iraq. Now, this is not something that many people actually believe in. It's the same with most things from the Bible. It's largely seen as a guide rather than something you should take word for word. And this is what Mike Huckabee did say. He said that if Israel was going to expand its territory to those regions, then it would be unlawful. It would not be something that he thinks Israel are going to do, and it's not something that he wants Israel to do. However, he did say one quote when very, very carefully pressed on this by Carlson. He said, quote, "It would be fine if they took it all." And he is saying this based on what the Bible is saying, but not what he is believing. But of course, this has been cut by the Tucker Carlson podcast for social media, and it has caused a frenzy among Arab nations led by Saudi Arabia, who have criticized this by saying that they want to have Huckabee removed as ambassador. But in reality, this is not what was truly said. This is an example of how these new media folk are able to edit what very influential people are saying to fit in their specific agenda and to cause controversy in the region. It's worth noting that Tucker Carlson has, in the last 18 months, taken a bit more of a pivot into anti-American views, especially promoting the Russian Federation and anti-Israel rhetoric. He has hosted people who have been accused of anti-Semitism on his podcast, given them much more airtime than Mike Huckabee. Huckabee wanted this as a chance to lay everything out on the table and to lay everything clean. But in reality, he got caught up and trapped by somebody who was much smarter with this level of media than Huckabee was himself.